Chapter 16 from the Book of Fairy Tales, The Winter Solstice. We kept a close eye on Gaston, taking delight in the terror we were causing. We saw him watch in horror as Kingsley became more bitter and cruel, witnessing the evidence on his dear friend's face as it became just as monstrous as his blackened heart. Gaston, too, felt monstrous for encouraging this romance between Kingsley and Princess Tulip. Seeing how terribly Kingsley treated her every time she came to visit. We smiled when he tried to lift Kingsley's spirits by arranging a splendid solstice celebration, remembering how much they both loved the solstice as children, thinking maybe the magic of all the trappings would help lift his friend out of his gloom and perhaps bring the prince and princess closer together after their previous disastrous visit. Gaston would see to it they had a romantic solstice, and again he solicited the help of the staff to see to it that everything was perfect for the princess's stay. As Princess Tulip's Morningstar's carriage rolled up the path leading to the prince's castle, she couldn't help but feel there wasn't anything more breathtaking than the castle in wintertime. Morningstar was by far one of the most beautiful kingdoms in the land, but nothing quite compared to the prince's kingdom, covered in pure white snow and decorated for the winter solstice. The entire castle was infused with light and glowing brightly in the dark winter night. Tulip had high hopes for this visit and longed for nothing more than for the prince to treat her with kindness and love, as he once had. Like Gaston, she hoped the winter holiday would cheer his sour mood and bring him back around to the man she had fallen in love with at the ball. Little did she know she was moving closer to the edge of peril. Lumiere opened the carriage door and greeted the princess at the castle entrance. "Bonjour, princess. Aren't you looking as beautiful as always? It is so lovely to see you again." No matter how much Gaston had pleaded, he could not persuade Kingsley to meet his future bride when she arrived. At least Lumiere was on hand to make the princess feel welcome and adored. "Kingsley, you have to meet Tulip when she arrives. What will she think if you're not there to greet her?" said Gaston. I don't care what she thinks. You're the one who insisted she come here and the castle be decorated for the solstice. It looks like a winter nightmare in here. Trees everywhere, endless piles of gifts. I suppose it costs a fortune, all these gifts you bought for her. And where are all the servants? How was this all achieved?" Gaston didn't want to tell Kingsley the curse had started affecting the servants as well. Every day there were fewer than the day before. Every day there were new statues in strange places. Gaston had the creeping feeling the statues were watching him, moving when his back was turned. The castle was changing too, within and without, gargoyles and dragons replacing cherubs. The castle becoming darker, foreboding and frightening. He did his best to shield Kingsley from as much of it as he could, but he couldn't hide that the staff had dwindled down to Mrs. Potts, Mr. Cogsworth, Lumiere, and a handful of others. "The servants are being turned into statues. Open your eyes, man, and look around. Tulip is our only hope of breaking the curse, so pull yourself together, put on your happiest face, and greet her when she arrives." "Statues? Are you sure?" The prince looked horrified. "Tulip loves you, Kingsley, and if you don't stop treating her so horribly, we will lose everyone we love, all of our friends and family here, and we will lose each other. Please, just be kind to her. She's on her way now. Won't you try to give her a nice holiday, and not for her, then for all of us?" "I suppose, but I can't stand to be out of doors, Gaston. It feels too big. I can't explain it. My heart races, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't feel safe unless I'm in the castle." "Fine, then meet her in the great hall. Lumiere will bring her in, and you will surprise her with all her gifts. Leave everything to us, my old friend. I promise I know what's best." The prince's absence upon Tulip's arrival, however, did not go unnoticed, and Nanny grumbled about it as she popped out of the carriage right after the princess. But Lumiere had it all in hand, saying their things would be taken into their rooms, even though there wasn't a footman in sight. Lumiere ushered the ladies past many vast and beautiful rooms, until finally they arrived at a large door wrapped to look like an extravagant gift with a gold bow. The ladies were fresh confused. Customarily, they would be shown to their rooms so they could refresh themselves after their long journey. But Tulip was excited to find this intriguing door and seemed eager to see what was on the other side. Tulip's nanny, however, seemed skeptical. "What's this?" she snapped, looking at the door with confusion and wonder. But Lumiere urged them on. "Go inside and see for yourself." Tulip opened the giant gift-wrapped door to find a winter wonderland within. There was an enormous oak tree stretching to the very height of the golden domed ceiling. It was covered in magnificent lights and beautifully ornate finery that sparkled in their glow. Under the tree was an absolute abundance of gifts, and standing among them was the prince, his arms stretched out as he waited to greet her. The poor girl's heart was filled with joy, unaware the smile on the prince's face was forced. "My love, I am so happy to see you," she said, wrapping her arms around him. We odd sisters watched as the prince looked at her with disgust. It was the same look he gave our Circe when he saw her covered in mud with the pigs. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't keep himself from showing who he truly was. It didn't matter what Gaston said or did. The prince was far too gone. He was in the curse's grip, and we couldn't have been happier. He was going to get what he deserved. "Hello, my dearest. You're in quite the state from traveling, aren't you? I'm surprised you didn't insist to be taken to your rooms to make yourself more presentable before showing yourself." "I'm sorry, dear. You're right. Of course." Lumiere, always a gentleman and eager to please, jumped in. "It's my fault, my lord. I insisted she follow me at once. I knew you were excited to show the princess the decorations." "I see. Well, Tulip dear, soon you will be queen in this house, and you must learn to decide for yourself what is right and insist upon it. I am sure next time you will make the right choice." With that, he motioned for her to go upstairs. Tulip was in tears as Lumiere showed her and Nanny to their rooms. "As I said when you arrived, dear princess, you look beautiful as always," Lumiere said kindly as he led her away. "Do not heed the master's words. He has been rather distracted of late." The rest of Tulip's visit drifted further into nightmare as the curse tormented the prince and everyone in the castle. More of the staff were disappearing. Disturbing statues were appearing in strange places like the observatory, places he knew they hadn't been before, and the prince was haunted by our words of warning when we uttered the second part of the curse. "Your castle and its grounds will also be cursed then, and everyone within will be forced to share your burden. Nothing but horrors will surround you from when you look into the mirror or sit in your beloved rose garden." It rang in his ears with each disappearance and with each new statue that appeared, and he knew the horrors he had created. Yet at any time the prince could have tried to change his ways. He could have been tender to Tulip, but its constant mistreatment of her pulled him and everyone in the castle further into a vortex of hopelessness. They wondered if they would be trapped forever in this misery, and Gaston was angry. "What's this I hear of you making Tulip cry? What is wrong with you, Kingsley?" "You should have seen her, Gaston. She wasn't fit to be in my company." "Have you seen yourself in the mirror lately? Look at yourself. You're lucky Tulip still wants to marry you. You're lucky what's left of the household hasn't deserted you. Get yourself together, man, and make it up to her. Do you understand me? Make it up to her and break this damn curse. We have lost almost everyone we love, and how soon before the rest are gone too? How long before you lose yourself completely? That's enough, Gaston. I understand. Do you, though? You'd better. Now go. She is waiting for you. After that, the prince seemed determined to break the curse, but he made a mockery of love, falling all over himself, trying to make Tulip happy. Tulip, do you really love me? Would you love me even if I were somehow disfigured? What a question! Of course I would. You know I love you more than anything in this world. I do now, my love. I do now. And that was all he needed. She loved him, truly loved him. She would help him break this curse. As far as he was concerned, he was halfway there. All he had to do was convince us, the evil Odd Sisters, that he loved her too. Of course, there were things about Tulip he loved. He loved her beauty, her coyness, and that she kept her opinions to herself. He loved that she showed no interest in books, and that she didn't prattle on about her pastimes. In fact, he had no idea how she spent her time when she wasn't in his company. It was as if she didn't exist when she wasn't with him. He imagined her sitting in a little chair in her father's castle, just waiting for him to send for her. He loved how she never gave him a cross look or scorned him, even when he was in the foulest of moods, and how very easy she was to manage. Surely that counted for something. Surely that was a form of love. So he decided the sweeter she was to her, the quicker he would break the curse. All that was left was sealing the deal with a kiss, and the curse would be broken. Everything would go back to the way it was. It was quite comical, really, watching him pretend to love Tulip, putting on a show for us. But we saw into his heart. Unfortunately for Tulip, she did not. Lumiere was given the task of spiriting Nanny downstairs to have tea with Mrs. Potts and taking the hamper Mrs. Potts had packed for the prince and princess for their romantic interlude, as Lumiere called it. It was all planned. This would be the moment, they would declare. Their love for each other and kiss. And bam, the curse would be broken. Just like that. We watched as the prince led the princess to the edge of the hedge maze. Her eyes were covered with a long white silk scarf. Her heart raced because she was afraid of the dark and filled with nervous excitement about the surprise the prince had arranged for her. He asked her to count to 50 and then take off the blindfold, assuring her that the path to her surprise would be quite clear. She ripped off the sash from her eyes the moment she got to 50, needing a moment to let her eyes adjust before she saw the path laid before her. The tips of her toes touched the pink rose petals that had been strewn across the courtyard, creating a path that led into the hedge maze. Her fears fluttered away as she quickly walked the petal path, eager to enter the maze of animal topiaries. The petals led her past a stunningly crafted topiary of an exceptionally large serpent, its mouth gaping wide and bearing long, deadly fangs. It twisted its way around the corner, revealing a part of the maze she had never seen, a replica of the castle, almost exact in every way except without the griffins, and many gargoyles perched on almost every corner and turret. The petals led out of the maze and into a small enclosed garden that was filled with brightly colored flowers. It felt as if she had somehow stumbled upon springtide in the midst of this winter landscape. It was such a remarkable sight, so bright and full of life. She couldn't imagine how the flowers thrived in such bitter cold. Among the flowers were beautiful statues from various stories, characters from legends and myths. She recognized them from eavesdropping on her brother's lessons before she was ushered away to learn how to walk like a lady. It was no wonder men didn't take women seriously. They had classes in walking while the men learned ancient languages. The garden was stunning and every bit like a fairy tale in the cold blue light of the winter afternoon. Nestled in the center of the enchanted garden, all pink and gold, was a stone bench where the prince was waiting for her. I arranged flowers from the hothouse to be moved here so you might experience the joy of spring. You're amazing, my dearest. Thank you. The prince decided this was the moment when he would kiss her and break the curse. May I kiss you, my love? And they kissed, and it was magical. For Tulip, anyway. She was blissfully happy, if only for a moment, before everything went terribly wrong. As they walked back to the castle through the maze, the prince was sure he had broken the curse with the kiss. But then he heard something stirring and growling in the hedge maze. Tulip joked that perhaps one of the animal topiaries had come to life, but the prince sensed they were in real danger. He knew there was truth to Tulip's words, even if she didn't. So he dashed off to see what manner of beast was in the maze, leaving Tulip alone and defenseless. When he finally returned, he looked stricken and angry as he stood there staring at Tulip as if in a daze, bleeding from the deep gashes in his arm. My love, you're hurt. Brilliant of you to have surmised that, my dear. It was as if his usual cruel and bitter tone, full of venom, as if he too were one of the topiary creatures that had sprung to life in the hedge maze. Little did she know, he was becoming more beastly by the moment.